Amidst all this, there's a huge surge in coronavirus cases. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal spoke of that big surge in Delhi, where 24,000 cases have been reported in the past 24 hours. The positivity rate is 24% plus, which is a cause for serious concern. Maharashtra government is saying exactly the same thing. In all of this, there is also this information doing the rounds that there is a new strain that the RT-PCR test is unable to detect, and then you require a CT scan for that strain to be detected straight in the lungs. I have two of the finest doctors in the country engaged in the task of testing, Dr. Harsh Mahajan and Dr. Dang, joining me on India Today. But before I come to that, Sneha Murdani with this report.
Is it now settling in the lungs and doing this stealthily? Is it not being shown in the throat and the nasal cavity? Is SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, throwing surprises at us every single day? Perhaps yes, and the surprises aren't very pleasant.
Pulmonologists seem to suggest that the virus that causes COVID-19 may now be ducking the gold standard RT-PCR tests.
We are trying to extract the virus from deep inside the lung through a procedure called bronchoalveolar lavage. So that is becoming a handy tool for most of the clinicians to diagnose COVID-19 in such patients. Also, we are seeing newer symptoms like GI symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and also cough is coming up with sputum.
Experts say often patients with classic symptoms of COVID-19 are showing negative on RT-PCR test. But the lungs of these patients seem to suggest that they could well be carriers.
The most important thing if you have COVID symptoms and even if you have a negative RT-PCR report is to isolate yourself, because we've seen that the first report may come negative, and if you do it again after 2 days or 3 days, it may come positive.
What's worse, we could be missing these patients as COVID patients.
We are seeing a lot of patients who are coming with RT-PCR being negative but highly suggestive symptoms of COVID-19. And when you put them across through a CT scan, what we find are features which are very, very similar to what we get in COVID. So this is very important that we are able to clinically judge and appropriately test them, even if the RT-PCR is negative.
The government, however, refuses such claims. The centre says RT-PCR tests are adequate to detect all sorts of viruses.
What is extremely clear is that the second wave of the infection is throwing surprises at us every single day. Experts say false negatives of the RT-PCR test could have many reasons. But what's becoming clear is that CT scans wherever possible and whenever affordable is actually a more accurate way of getting hold of this infection, because the infection is now settling in the lungs. With video journalist Waqar Ahmed, Sneha Murdani in Delhi for India Today.
There is a rumor doing the rounds that the RT-PCR test, which was so far seen as the gold standard in detecting coronavirus, at least 70%, if not more, is unable to detect whether it's the double mutant or the UK strain or the South African strain or the Brazil strain. Is that actually true? The health minister has gone on record to say that's not true. But let's get to the experts who are actually conducting these RT-PCR tests and are seen as the final word on the subject. Joining me on the show is Dr. Harsh Mahajan, founder of Mahajan Imaging, and Dr. Naveen Dang, consultant and founder of Dr. Dang's Labs. Dr. Mahajan, if I could come to you first on this rumor, and it's actually spreading like wildfire. Is RT-PCR accurate? Is it able to detect all these new strains and double mutants, sir?
Thank you, Gaurav, for asking this very, very important question, which we are also hearing, all the time. And with all emphasis at my command, I would like to say that this narrative is false, it's wrong, it's untrue. And why do I say that? It is because the mutants, be it the so-called double mutant, be it the UK, South African, or the Brazilian variant, they have all been detected in samples which were sent to CSIR labs for whole genome sequencing after they were found positive on RT-PCR tests. So the first step for detecting the mutant viruses is RT-PCR.
Okay.
RT-PCR came out positive, and as you know, as per the government mandate, 5% of all positive samples are sent to the government for whole genome sequencing, and it is in those positive samples that these mutant viruses have been discovered. So this narrative is absolutely wrong, and I think through your channel, which is very widely seen, I would like to say, please do not consider that these mutants are being missed on RT-PCR, or that RT-PCR has suddenly gone bad.
Dr. Dang, is that also your assessment? There are thousands of tests that that are carried out at your facility. Is RT-PCR able to detect all these variants, sir?
Absolutely, I agree 100% with what Dr. Mahajan has said. The advantage of speaking second is that the first speaker has already spoken everything. Whatever Dr. Mahajan has said, I endorse without trying to repeat what he has said, every word, every alphabet that he has spoken. RT-PCR is the gold standard, was the gold standard. We cannot forget the fact that the sensitivity of the test was always 70%, but this is absolutely a myth that we're missing out variants in this. No, as Dr. Mahajan again has rightly said, that the positives from RT-PCR, 5% of them, all of us are obliged to send for genomic sequencing, and then only we are able to find out the variants what is there.
So,
Whatever
Dr. Dang, is this then a rumor? Is this then a rumor, sir, that some are then forced to take either a CT scan or an X-ray to know that that there is an issue with the lung or there's some problem with the lung, and only then is corona being detected, sir?
Gaurav, I agree. There are patients where we miss out it being positive in the RT-PCR. Like I started my statement by saying that the sensitivity is only 70%. Lots of people are getting themselves tested very early. Just a few minutes back also, I got a phone call from a very important and educated patient from Delhi saying that I came in contact yesterday. I want the test done today. I actually had to literally request him that please wait for a few days. You're not having any symptoms. You just came in contact yesterday and get it done now. But he said, no, aaj hi karo. Okay, I'll do it. I'm quite sure it comes out to be negative. The patient will go into complacency mode. After 5 days, even if the viral load increases enough, the patient will not come to know and will keep on spreading the virus. So it's a humble request that there's nothing wrong with the RT-PCR. RT-PCR still remains the gold standard, and we should all follow the proper instructions that after contact with a positive patient, only at least 5 to 6 days should elapse before you get the test done. Secondly, please, first question is that why do you come in contact with a known positive patient? That is a chill should be avoided. The patient who is tested positive, it is not a disease. It's something which you acquired from whatever is happening around. Please tell everybody that, please, I am COVID positive. So please be away from me. Any person who is COVID positive should have the sense of responsibility to stay absolutely in quarantine and not let anybody meet him. And as Dr. Mahajan has again said, the most important thing is a mask. It's an airborne disease.
Absolutely.
So
this new Lancet report,
please be careful.
does say that and Dr. Mahajan, that's the point I was coming to. One, how do you know the other person is COVID positive? Because a number of people are completely asymptomatic. Point one, and point two, what day, if you do get to know that you've come in contact with a COVID positive person, should you only get an RT-PCR once there are any symptoms, or wait for day 5 or day 4 and then get a test done, Dr. Mahajan?
You've put it very rightly, Gaurav. Number one, if you've come in contact with the COVID positive patient, then and it's unprotected contact, then if you get symptoms, then you can go and get your test done. The virus has an incubation period of about 2 to 14 days, an average of about 5 days. So if you get symptoms, the chances are high that the RT-PCR test will come positive. if you don't get symptoms, then please go earliest on the 5th, preferably on the 6th day after exposure. Because if you go earlier than that, you will get a negative RT-PCR because the average incubation period is 5 to 6 days. Now, if I may touch on the point that someone who is having symptoms and clinically the treating doctor feels that this is COVID, then the RT-PCR test comes negative. That can also happen.
Okay.
And we saw it all the way since last year. As has very rightly been said by Dr. Dang, the sensitivity of this test is about 70%. I think with the high quality of kits that we have and the more experience we've gained over the last 1 year, probably this number of, the false negatives has gone down. But still, we are seeing patients clinically COVID, but RT-PCR negative. We have to treat it and consider it as a patient who's COVID positive.
Okay.
The patient should isolate and repeat a RT-PCR test after 2 to 3 days, or else, in case the symptoms go up, and the oxygen saturation goes down, then one can go in for a CT scan in this one specific instance. And if on CT you see the typical abnormalities of COVID,
Right.
then you know that despite a negative RT-PCR, you're dealing with COVID. At times we've had patients who have frank COVID, but even twice or thrice they've had negative RT-PCR.
The
Do
point I
also
was coming
remember-
to, okay, Dr.
Do
Dang,
also remember,
is so far the impression was
Gaurav-
if you get COVID once, you develop antibodies and you're safe. If you're safe for what period? Can you get COVID again? And there have been instances, Dr. Dang, that somebody's already got either the first jab or in some instances, doctors have got both the jabs and yet they've tested positive, Dr. Dang.
You're saying that some instances, there have been quite a few instances. At the moment, we have got no cutoff value to say that what level of antibodies is protective or not. Number two, you may be antibody negative, but still you may be having cell-mediated immunity, which can protect you. We have got no idea. People claim that we have got high antibody levels as if they've got money in their banks and saying that such a high level of antibodies, we cannot get infected. Absolutely, totally wrong. Please do not think that a high level of antibodies is going to protect you. You may still get the infection, you may not get the disease. I want to emphasize the point that the difference between getting the infection and getting the disease. My belief at the moment, I'll take the opinion of Dr. Mahajan also sitting out here to ask you what I'm saying is right or wrong, that if you've taken both the shots and after that, whatever the level of antibodies may be, you may get infection, you have to protect yourself from infection, but I'm quite sure that you'll not fall severely ill. That is, you'll not develop the severe disease. You will have a minor variant of the disease. Because again, as we know, that the efficacy of the vaccines is quite limited.
Yes.
So whether you have taken the vaccine or you have had the disease before, I'm seeing number of patients who had the disease about 1 year back, again, developing the disease. Again, I'll say that the main thing is that whatever your status may be, antibody status may be, mask, social distancing, taking care of your own self. This is what we all said. I remember I was on a show exactly with the same panel 1 year back, and I said exactly the same thing.
Absolutely,
mask is the only
sir.
way to protect it. I think let's forget it, that antibodies are going to protect us.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. We did exactly the same show during the first wave. We are doing this once again. But is this double mutant, that's being talked about, Dr. Mahajan? Is this double mutant the new villain or the bigger villain that is making corona far more infective this time, Dr. Mahajan?
See, Gaurav, data is still to come. What we have in the public domain is that about 24% of the recent samples showed up this double mutant. And whether it's more contagious, whether it's more virulent, we have no way of knowing, because till the data is shared publicly, it's only then that we'll know after the analysis is done. But we do know that not only is this double mutant there in Maharashtra, where probably it started, it is also there in the northern part of the country. In Punjab, we have the UK variant. But there's a disturbing report which came only today from the UK, where they found on genome sequencing 77 cases of the double mutant, the Indian double mutant in the UK. About 4 of them in Scotland and 73 odd in Great Britain. So this is spreading. Now, whether this is responsible for the huge surge that we've had, that I'm sure we'll know within the next few weeks after adequate analysis has been done.
Okay.
But, the fact is, if I could go back to the question which you asked Dr. Dang, regarding how long the immunity stays after an infection. There's a recent study published only 2 or 3 days ago in the Lancet called the Siren study. This is from the UK, where they've seen that infection actually provides very good immunity, which they saw lasts about 6 months, and they've compared it also with the immunity that you get after vaccination, and they say that it is equally good as vaccination and maybe even better. So that is what we know till now about the immunity that comes from infection.
Okay. Sir, you mentioned this surge, Dr. Dang, this new surge that we're seeing in our country just now. How are you, and are you able to cope with this, with the number of people coming for testing? What would your advice to those who are coming for testing be at this stage?
Judiciously, I agree to the fact that there is a fear factor which is involved. Everybody wants to get tested. But again, the problem is that 1 year back, when we started, we had no capacity. The government and the private sector combined together have built up a great capacity since that time. But again, we were not expecting this kind of a surge which we have got now. So again, we have to work together to increase our capacity. But how do we increase our capacity? That is one question which I want to know. For increasing capacity, you require manpower. For increasing capacity, you require equipment. For increasing capacity, you require space. For increasing capacity, you require finance. So all these things have to be gathered. Till 3 weeks back, we are not ever expecting that such a great surge will occur. We all know, at least in the city of Delhi, the percentage had dropped to practically negligible. But with the surge happening, I think quite a few of us have been caught off guard at the amount of tests which we are able to provide. So we are quickly trying to ramp up the capacity, but these 4 things are something variables which we have to deal with, and which is becoming a great challenge.
And Dr. Mahajan, space, manpower, technology, equipment, is there a paucity? Are we able to ramp up fast enough given this surge? And do we have any idea when this will peak?
Gaurav, the private sector and the public sector put together, from a few hundred tests that were possible in the beginning, we ramped up and we were able to do 1.6 million tests a day. So ramping up happened in the first phase very, very rapidly and in unison, the public and the private. Now what has happened, this surge has come very quickly. Like I keep saying, this is not like a plane taking off. This has actually been like a jet taking off. And everything, all capacities have been overwhelmed. And to ramp up the numbers very quickly, what all of us are doing is increasing shifts. Our people are actually tired. They're working nights. From 2, we've gone to 3 shifts. But for bringing in newer equipment, it takes time. There is demand across the world. It takes at least 4 to 6 weeks. It requires investment. When the test started, it started at 4,500 rupees. Everything was scarce and very hardly available.
Yes.
Then it was brought down to 2,400, and then the states were asked that you can keep whatever price you want. And there are states where the price for a RT-PCR test is 400 rupees.
Yes.
It just does not break even. There is no way that you can actually pay for getting newer equipment, ramping up, taking new space, hiring more people. So that also has become a constraint.
Yes.
You have to be viable, you have to be profitable. The government in its own sphere has also to be having the money with it to be able to ramp up the public sector. It doesn't happen out of thin air.
Okay.
And that's why we all need to rethink, work together, because you asked a question, how long will this surge last?
Yes.
We don't know. It's dependent on us. There are lockdowns, isolated ones that have happened. I would appeal to your viewers to practice a self-lockdown. If you do that, the surge can be controlled. It'll peak very soon and will start dying down. But
God
if we
willing.
do not do that, and as Dr. Dang has said, I will re-emphasize mask, mask, mask. That is what is actually going to save us.
I actually want that to be the last word on the show, but I have one question, Dr. Dang, because several epidemiologists are saying that this is the second wave. There will be a third wave. So should we continue to remain ramped up in terms of testing in your case and wearing a mask in the case of everyone else to ensure that the third wave, if at all, is not very big? And will there actually be a third wave, Dr. Dang?
Impossible to predict whether there will be a third wave or not. But the fact remains that yes, we have to be fully prepared. We have to maintain the mask and social distancing. Like I say, the COVID norms have to be maintained, and we have to increase the capacity. And as has been well said, till the time we have money to invest, how do we invest? I just want to tell you one thing. A person who goes to collect the sample of a presumed to be positive COVID patient is actually looking inside the face of a person and telling him, okay, take out your tongue and I'll take a swab. That person who's going to collect the sample also needs to be paid. What is being calculated is the cost of the kit, the cost of the reagent. No, that's not the way we can increase.
Yes.
We have to increase the capacity. Like I'll say for the 10th time I'm saying, or 20th time I'm saying, let the people who can afford to please pay. Let the market forces govern the prices. So I would be more than happy to serve the low socioeconomic group of my country,
Yes.
absolutely free of cost. But let the people who can afford please pay. There can be some various different forms.
Yes.
I'm not an economist, so I cannot emphasize what is the way of rationalizing the whole thing.
So you are
But
doctors.
at the
you're
rate at which the
serving-
states are bringing down the prices is absolutely not viable. Increasing the capacity will become a challenge.
Yes.
Getting more manpower, equipment, space will be absolutely a major challenge. I have one lab. Dr. Mahajan has got one lab. If I want to buy the place next door or
Yes.
get more space, from where do I get the money for
Oh,
that?
absolutely.
So,
and in this
it is
case,
a
last
humble
word, Dr.
request.
Mahajan, the only way to stay safe is to remain masked up. Is that's what both of you are saying? Stay masked up.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Gaurav. That's your guarantee against getting an infection.
I will let
It
that be
is-
the last word on the show. Dr. Dang and Dr. Mahajan, as always, many thanks for joining me here on India Today.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.